Alabama is going back with technically their former offensive coordinator because he was hired for a couple of days, then left for Seattle. But Ryan Grubb, who was with Kalen DeBoer at Washington, has been announced that he will be the next offensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. We were talking a little bit about this right before the show started, but a massive move by and for the Crimson Tide here. Ryan Grubb coming to Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, if you're listening to the show, the ball knowers on this podcast said last week when we were talking about, hey, should we be a little worried about Bama this upcoming year? And I threw out there, and we both agreed on they need to go get Ryan Grubb. Grubb was fired with the Seattle Seahawks. It just wasn't a good fit. His offense didn't really mesh well with the system and everything that they had set up there. I didn't think that Geno Smith was a great fit for quarterback and running that system. But more importantly, it's built to dominate the college game. And bringing back and reuniting Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb is so massive for the long-term and also short-term success for Alabama football. He's a mastermind. We saw what he was able to get out of Michael Penix in order to help them reach a national championship game. They ran the ball really well. They were explosive downfield. I think the biggest part about this, and he's not directly one-on-one coaching the receivers. We've touted Alabama's receiving coach. His name is escaping me at the current moment. He is a great coach, but he unlocked a ton of production from Roman Dunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, who weren't super highly recruited guys. So I think right now for Alabama for this upcoming season, knowing what they've got at quarterback in Ty Simpson and Austin Mack, knowing that they're figuring out outside of Ryan Williams, who are those other options that they can turn to? The expectation should be high. They're going to be able to unlock a lot of things from this group that they probably would not have been able to do without Ryan Grubb. I think he is a tremendous coach. He's one of the most brilliant offensive minds in the sport. It bothered me that he went to the NFL because I thought that we were going to be missing out on seeing so much offensive production from his end.
Jamarcus Shepard is the wide receivers coach at Alabama. So, look, I think there's two things in reference to on-field play. I still think that from a personnel standpoint, there's conversations that need to be had, specifically at wide receiver, as you had just mentioned. They do bring in a guy like Isaiah Horton from the portal. So there are some things to obviously work with in that room with Ryan Williams coming back. You would assume that there's going to be a different a philosophy in what they want to do, clearly, so it can benefit the wide receivers. But Ryan Grubb coming back to Alabama. Look, Joey talked about this. The year before they got to a national title with the Washington Huskies, they were a top 10 offense, actually a top 3 offense. They have 515 yards per game. They kind of fell a little bit short, right? Not to in the year one, but to the expectations of what their offense had and what they had done. That whole offense comes back. They're in a groove. You talk about Dunze, Penix, etc. The interesting thing about this Ryan Grubb hire is everybody saw a year ago about how bad things were going offensively for Alabama, because even though defensively they had some issues, really and truthfully in their biggest and worst games, it was offensive issues that they had, right? You look at Michigan the last game of the year. You look at Tennessee in the second half. You look at so many different things that they had issues with. Does that now happen with Ryan Grubb, who's been an offensive coordinator that, number one, got hired by the NFL, and a lot of things weren't his issues or his fault, but has really done this in college, and we've seen the Grubb and DeBoer connection work here. There are questions, though, that I have. I still have questions about a first-time starter, even though I think play calling will be tons better.
Yeah.
In that offense, you're going to have to be predicated on throwing the football a lot and then throwing the ball on third down. Now, there are a lot of things that Ryan Grubb, I thought, even at Washington and even at Seattle, that it's just what he's going to do. They went out and got Draylon Washington, the big 230-pound running back. Joe's the same thing that they did in Washington, too. They're going to run the ball on first and second down. They'll get you to third and manageable, and then they'll start picking you apart. That's how they roll. It's how he's always rolled. I think it's a really big hire for Alabama in the sense of that we've seen him work wherever he's gone. Not only that, Joe, it's not only who's a quarterback's coach and that they threw the ball all around the place. Ryan Grubb, people forget this, was a run game coordinator a lot of times throughout his career before becoming the OC and getting with Kalen DeBoer, etc. So it's not that he wants to abandon the run either. So I think even him coming in here, it's what he wants to do. You go and get a 230-pound back that you can put into that rotation. Again, tons of questions around the personnel. So I don't know what I don't know. They could go into a spring, and the only talk coming out of Alabama is, man, quarterback play has been really bad. But from an overall system style of things, the Ryan Grubb hire is a really big one.
Well, and I think what makes me really excited about this is knowing the success, as I mentioned a second ago, the success that he had with lesser talent. And I don't even want to depict it as lesser talent, but just not super highly recruited premier guys. Washington didn't have a bunch of 5 stars at Fresno State, obviously didn't have the upper echelon of receiving talent to turn to. He got amazing production and success out of Jake Haener, enough so that he turned into not a highly drafted guy, but somebody who has stuck with the Saints roster for a period of time. He was the Senior Bowl MVP. His development was huge.
How he got something out of that kid, I have no idea. he is trash.
Right. He doesn't have a whole lot of tools to work with. And Michael Penix, who's a big-armed kid, but was coming off of a bunch of major surgeries to his shoulders and his knees, to know how to unlock his best version of himself. That's why Alabama fans should be feeling great about this. I think that just overall optimism comes from, and feeling better now comes from last year, is seeing how disjointed everything felt. And I know that there's a lot of different reasons that we can blame for that. Jalen Milroe took a step backward in the second half of the season. There were a lot of defensive
run the ball. O-line sucked.
Right. They couldn't find success on the ground. Their defense was very inconsistent and was having a lot of problems. There were a million penalties that they were having. This isn't just straight up solved by Ryan Grubb. This is a process that's going to take some time to really start to hit its stride. But I think that this is the biggest way that you recalibrate and you regain footing to bounce back. I think at the very least, they're going to finish in the top 20 offensively, and they're going to be one of the best passing attacks in the country.
Well, okay, saying this, I'm going to kind of disagree on one part of what you think. Okay. I do think from an offensive standpoint, you are 1,000% right of what they want to do. I mean, Joe, again, they want to go out there and throw the football. And it's not as necessarily that they want to get vertical. Now, they will get vertical, but people forget. Think about both Oregon games. They Steve Sarkisian the shit out of you. They're going to get dudes out in space and make them win one-on-ones. And you know what? If we get 6 yards, so be it. I'll run 15 plays on you if I have to. The reason Penix worked so much too was he was in so many manageable situations because of play calling. He was put in really good situations from a play calling standpoint. But there also comes a point here. I can't get behind you on one thing. I'm not going to get behind either one of these quarterbacks when I have not seen them during the spring. I can't. By the way, it does not fix Ryan Grubb coming in. Maybe to some extent of play calling will help this. It's not going to help how bad things were along the offensive line either. I need to see that entire offensive line. I mean, look, man, you got bullied the last time I saw you. Bullied. And physically got – everybody wanted to blame Jalen Milroe. Let's go call it what it is. They got physically bullied. Yeah. Okay? So I don't really want to hear it. But, again, I look at this and say to myself, I love the move, and I think long-term – definitely works. For the 2025 year, for Bama, though, I just have questions. I have questions at quarterback. I have questions at running back. I have questions at O-line. And, Joe, outside of Ryan Williams, be real with you, I got questions at wide receiver. I think Bama has more questions than they've ever had of what specifically that they are going to do or what spring looks like. It's an intriguing spring of what it looks like. But, man, from just an overall play calling standpoint, if you have the athletes at Alabama and everybody knows that you get dudes, how does he unlock a guy like Ryan Williams? I will tell you this. Ryan Williams will not go a half and get one target like he did.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to happen.
No.
And you know what else he's not going to do? They're not going to run a quarterback sneak and go twins right and both wide receivers take a step back and do a jump shot. Remember that?
I vaguely do. I don't remember that completely.
They ran a play like
what game was that?
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was Vandy. And they lost, by the way. I'm sure Bama fans will correct me. But go and look at it. I mean, it's there. Well, let me make sure I wasn't dreaming that one either, but I'm pretty sure I was not dreaming that one. It's just overall great long-term move. I still going into the year will have so many questions on them. Joe, if they can't – now, I love the Draylon Washington pickup because if – Joe, remember when we were talking about that Washington team the whole time? I was worried about them running the football. Like when they get in the playoffs, could they run the football? Now, they couldn't do it on Michigan. Okay, well, nobody could do it on Michigan. They couldn't really do it against Texas either. But they like to get a big back, bell cow back, and run the rock. They don't care if you get 2 yards, and then you're 3rd and 6 and throw the football. They do not care. That is the Ryan Grubb way.
Yeah, the reigniting of their run game, I think, is going to be the biggest focus point. And the last part with this, I feel like Austin Mack is going to have a little bit of a head start here in this quarterback situation.
Especially
he was recruited by Grubb. Right, some favoritism. And DeBoer had recruited Austin Mack too, but there's a little bit of a different relationship to be assumed between a young quarterback and an offensive coordinator. I'm going to kind of push until we get to see them play and throw in the spring, if that actually comes to fruition. I think I'm going to push that narrative that I think that Mack should be the starter, knowing his familiarity already with the system.
I'm not going to do that because I think Ty Simpson would have left.
Well, this just happened.
No. I get that, but
I think this changes the dynamic a little bit. I think that this changes the situation.
Maybe it does. Well, I guess we'll see. But
yeah,
what if Ty Simpson comes in there and is better than Austin Mack?
Well, then he'll obviously start. I think Ty Simpson's a good player. He seemed like he was a pretty good recruit.
We hadn't seen him really.
Yeah, we just don't
know what he is.
Really know it. What?
He's Mac Jones.
I feel like Austin Mack's got a higher ceiling than Mac Jones.
Tua and all those other dudes had higher ceilings as Mac Jones too, but it didn't matter. Bryce Young clearly had a higher ceiling than.
But Mac Jones started because he played great for the season that he started.
I get it, but you could have gone to Bryce. You gonna go to Bryce as a freshman? You didn't.
I don't. I think that there's very rare circumstances. Wait. Bryce Young was tiny as shit. There's no way Nick Saban of all people would have started Bryce Young as a true freshman. There's no way.
Well, because he didn't need to.
I look.
Y'all disrespecting.
Wait. He had the most talented roster, one of the most talented rosters of all time.
So did Joe Burrow. Doesn't change anything.
There's a massive difference in Joe Burrow and Mac Jones, and I think that you can agree with that. But the point is that Austin Mack and Ty Simpson are not that far away from the times that they've spent. Like Ty Simpson has a year on Austin Mack, I think. So it's not the same circumstance where Mac Jones was there for 3 years. So that's just worth considering.
No, I'm with you. But a big move for Alabama with getting Ryan Grubb. Probably the biggest commit. Technically, that Kalen DeBoer has gotten.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing that he's done. So,
for sure.